Today is all about buttons, paper buttons to be exact. And we're going to be using paper buttons and making some really pretty belly bands for our junk journals. I did this one here to be able to put into my little golden book. I had a page back here in the back that I thought these pastel colors would be really pretty on. So I'm going to be putting that into this one right across here, and then it could be a good little tuck spot for me. So that's what I plan to do with that one. And then for this one, I just really liked the vintage colors of it and making kind of an antique look of the buttons. So this was a fun one to make as well. So let me start off by showing you first how I make these paper buttons. Really, really simple. Let's move these up just a tad out of the way. And then I start off with just using a 1-inch circle punch. And the first thing I'm going to do is just punch 2 circles from this. Easy peasy. So on this one, I did a lot of vintage, more vintage, darker colors for it. And then for the pastel ones, I've got some scraps that are just more pastel, flowery, floral color patterns to them. So since I want to be working more on a second one of this to show you today, I'm going to stick with the more vintage colors. So we'll move those out of the way for a minute and let's figure out which color. Let's do this green one together to make a button with. And I'm just going to punch 2 more circles. Now if you're going to be making some of these buttons that you're just going to put on the front of this, you probably don't have to layer these up, but I like to layer them because I like the dimension that it gives to it. So I'm going to pull a glue sheet out. I've just got a simple glue stick, and I do 4 circles. So I'm just going to put some glue and layer these guys up. Simple as that. I've got 2 of my plain colors for the middle, and then I'm going to do a color and then do the pattern for each side. Now since these are going to be going on this, I really would only have to do one side, but when I make a bunch of these buttons at once, I like to go ahead and have both sides done, so then depending on what I want to use it for, if I'm going to use it in a junk journal for, let's say, a charm on the side, I want both sides of it. So I just kind of put the glue on and then run it around in my fingers, kind of like that, so it gets it all even circle all around. So the next thing I want to do is punch the 2 holes in the middle. Now some of these I've made with the 4 holes, and I ended up liking just the 2 holes better, so most of mine are done with the 2 holes. I like the way it turned out better, and I've got one here that I really liked the pattern, or that I really liked the width in between here. Well, so that's what I've been using for my pattern. And I'm just going to put a couple little pencil marks in there. And then I've got a hole punch here. There's a couple different size hole punches. Like this is one that has got a wider, circle in it, and I want one with a thinner. And so I'm going to use the thinner one and just line it up right on one of them. And then we'll do the same thing on the other side. So there's our little button, and I like to antique these up a little bit. I've got some Tim Holtz Distress ink, and this is in the walnut color. And I'm just going to use an old sponge on this. We'll go around the outside edges. And again, I don't have to do both sides, but I'm going to. And then I like to do the very edges of it too, so I don't have any of that color showing. Okay, and then one final little detail I like to do on these guys is use a Q-tip and go in where the buttonhole is, just to get a little color in there, and that'll hide the inside a little more too, and any little white spots that might be on, you know, when you do your cut on the designer paper. So I think that'll do. Sometime I like to add a little bit more, but I think that'll be just fine. And that's how simple it is just to make these buttons. I've got a few other extra ones here. This one I did using an old book page, and I don't know if you can tell that compared to this, if it's showing up very well, but I wanted to try using some glossy accents to make it shiny, and it did do that, and it did stiffen it up more. But for this, I kind of liked the look of it not being shiny. So if you do like that, want a glossy look on it, this is just the glossy effects. But it was easier for me not to do it and go that extra step. So I didn't use it on this one, but that's another idea that you could do. And then I have just a few more of these pastel-y kind of colors that are done too, that are left over. So these buttons just, I think, look so pretty. I love the kind of the country look of this and then the vintage look of those. So let me show you next how I did the belly bands on these. They're about 8 inches long. I think this one's about, oh, I don't know, what would that be, 8 1/4, about 8 1/2. But the junk journal that I'm putting this one in is just a little over 8, or right at 8. So that's why I cut it to that size. But of course, whatever page you're going to use it on, just measure that out. So I'm going to start out with a piece that's 2 1/2 inches by 8 inches for the belly bands. I'll move that over and have a little spot to work in the middle here. So for my edging on these, I have used a border punch. I've got that one, and then I've got this one. I've got a couple others that I have that I've bought at little resale shops or garage sales. This one's a Martha Stewart one, so is that one. That one's got a lot more wear on it. But this is the one that I used for this one. And then this is a little bit bigger one is the one I used for this one over here. I don't think Amazon has them in stock anymore, but there's some that are very similar to this. But I have seen these on eBay. I went and did go and look at that. But I'll link one that's similar to this on Amazon. I think I'm just going to use this one again because that's the one I used for that side. And I just start out at the very end and line it up and then work my way down. So if you haven't used these before, when I first started doing it, I thought, well, how do you ever get it lined up? But this little guide here over on the side, you move after you've done your punch, you'll move the next one down. So you'll just keep moving it down and then lining it up where you only see that color, where you only see this silvery color shining through. So we've done it on one side, and then I'm just going to flip it over and do it on the other side as well. So now that we've got that on both sides, I'm going to bring in a couple pieces of paper to protect my work surface, and then I'm going to just ink up the edges of this with that same Distress ink. And I'm just going to go right on top of it. I'm not going to worry about the center because I'm going to have a piece of lace there. Help if I bring this up or I can reach it. All right. Okay, next I'm just going to add that lace right in the middle. So let's grab that out. I just got this spool here. This one came from Michael's years ago. But you can find any lace that would fit down your center. Let's see, about yay long, and I'll trim off the extra later. I want to make sure I have enough. And then I am just going to use some tacky glue that I've got here. And just go a couple little. This will dry clear. Make sure I've got my edge as well, okay. And we'll lay that right down the center. And some of that glue is kind of showing through now, but doesn't matter. Okay. Then I'm just going to go ahead and trim off the edges now. Make that nice and cleaned up. I don't have enough of these buttons to fill this one as much as I'd like, so I'm going to make some more really quick to be able to finish this one out. Okay, I did get a few more made here. I think that'll be plenty to go along with what we've got here. So before I start gluing these down, I just want to kind of see what kind of pattern I want to make with these. So I'm going to start with, just start layering them up on here and going back and forth with my colors. They don't have to be perfect on here. I kind of liked the pattern of this one, so some of these are kind of the same, so I'm gonna kind of stay with that. Let's see. Maybe that guy. Decisions, decisions. Something like that I think will be okay. And then I'm just going to use this tacky glue to put them down. Let's put some on the back and layer it on there. Now if you wanted to add a little more detail or a little more dimension, or just add more to it in general, you can always take some cotton string and thread it through, and I think that would give it a little more prettiness. Or you can put some maybe behind, make a bow or partial bow. See how that might look with some of that sticking out around it too, if you like lots of goodies on it. Oh my goodness, this would be endless of things that you could do. So anyhow, I am just going to go through here and keep gluing these on. Okay, I'm going to add one more down here to the bottom than I thought, because when I glued them on, I glued them a little closer. But that will be just fine, I think. Right, and the last little detail I did on this one was to add these little bitty tiny flowers in between. You don't have to do anything like that, but I do have these little bitty ones, and they just came from the die set, and I can link that down below as well if you're interested. But it's just a little tiny itty bitty one, and I think I'm gonna do one. Let's see, we've got kind of a spot here, maybe down in here. You can add one there. So I think that'll look nice. Just do a little bitty dot in each one of those spots. And add our flower. Okay, and that is it. There's so many different fun uses for these little paper buttons. They're just really fun and easy to make. So if you've hung around here to the very end, thank you all for watching. Hope you have a blessed day. Till next time, bye.